Welcome to Conversations Different, a podcast from the Santa Fe New Mexican about the interesting people, places, and issues of northern New Mexico. This is Inez Russell Gomez, and this week we are talking to Miles Tokunow about immigration, justice, and what he is doing in that area. And we will start by just saying hello and welcome.
Thank you so much, Inez. It's such a pleasure to be here with y'all, and it's an honor to represent and share a little bit more about our organization and what's going on.
Thank you. Now, most people in Santa Fe had heard of the Dreamers Project. They've known about it for a long time, and it has done some important work. And now you are the new, executive director, and there's some changes happening with a new name. So talk about the new name and what's going to happen going forward.
Of course, it's my pleasure. So, Santa Fe Dreamers Project was born out of a beautiful idea by Allegra Love back in 2014, and working with young people to fill a gap around having accessible access to DACA. And with this opportunity from the Obama administration, saw, oh my gosh, there's this really incredible pathway for more security for these young folks who are undocumented and have incredible amounts of stress and fears around their uncertainty of their future. And this was a way for them to have so many more accesses and pathways towards more stable lives, more stable futures, access to higher education. The list goes on. And the project continued to grow and grow and grow. And I think it's been a long time coming for folks at the organization to rebrand and rename, because number one, the organization isn't a project. We're here to stay. And Contigo Immigrant Justice, our new name, really, really embodies that. And throughout the history of the organization, the work has expanded as well. And so we want to make sure that our name reflects the fact that no longer are we just in Santa Fe. No longer are we just working with DACA recipients, and no longer are we just a project, right?
Okay.
We're here to stay. We do statewide work, dip into to West Texas and a little bit into Colorado, where there are different detention centers that we also are working at. And the legal representation work that we do is the full gamut. So from affirmative work like citizenship, DACA renewals, green cards,
okay,
as well as visas for humanitarian aid, like survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault. So we do a whole bunch of things, and we're really, really living our values in our new name by orienting towards justice.
Yeah, and it couldn't have happened at a time, I guess, when you could argue that more justice is needed now more than ever, because of all the different things that are happening in this country. With the new name, talk about what Contigo means.
Yeah, great question. Contigo is Spanish for with you. And one of our organizational values is collaboration. And so as a nonprofit that that focuses on direct legal representation, one of the things that's really, really important to us is that we are collaborators and partners with our clients, not as experts telling them what they need to do, but as collaborators and thought partners around what are the next steps for, here are all the different pathways, and let's work on this together. And I think it also speaks to the fact that for so many of our clients, we've been working with them from the very beginning, where we did their first DACA application, and then they got married. And so then we worked with them to adjust their status to become legal permanent residents. And then we worked with them to become citizens. That is common kind of historical arc, and we work with our clients for the long term. And so those are really, really, I think that's at the heart of why we said we wanted to focus on Contigo. And I think also the collaboration extends outside of just our work with our clients, but also within
Okay.
community. So we are also working very collaboratively with our community partners like Somos un Pueblo Unido, like Gerard's House, like Earth Care, like La Fonda Foundation. We just actually had an awesome pilot program where
Mhm.
we worked together to really to create a legal clinic specifically for hospitality workers.
Oh,
And so
nice.
so we were able to talk to close to 25 different people and their family members on different legal matters, and have been able to take on a bunch of cases to, again, offer some more stability, support, and within that context, also economic freedoms, right?
Right.
As they get more. Yeah.
No, no, that's really important because there's so many people, as they always describe it, living in the shadows. Yet the economy of Santa Fe and so many towns depends on their work. And if they can become more able to live here legally or work legally, then they're going to have a better life. And I think their contributions will be marked and noted because so many times, there's this mirage image of they're just coming here to take your jobs and to mooch off the government, but really the reality is they're doing work that maybe you can't find people for, and their contributions in taxes don't ever go back to them.
That's absolutely true, and I think that there's so much that we can pinpoint also historically too around the ways in which immigration and the capital O other has been utilized for during economic downturns,
Yes.
right? As a dog whistle, as a scapegoat, and and I know that my family members have been on the receiving side of the xenophobia. I'm adopted. I was adopted at birth, and my father is American born, Japanese, but first gen, and he was born in an internment camp.
Ah,
So my grandparents had a nursery that they lost because of internment,
man.
and ended up spending the rest of their lives working at nurseries as opposed to being able to have that economic freedom and add even more. Yeah, on my mom's side, and both biologically and also adopted. Um, my family is Ashkenazi Jews, and so we know what fleeing looks like
Yeah.
throughout our entire history, right?
Yep. Yep.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we know what it's like to be a scapegoat in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the same thing that's happening, and what we
No,
really want to focus on is
yeah.
the humanity and the dignity of all.
No, that is so true. And I think the scary part about othering people is that it's not just used right now and in the past. It's used to consolidate power so that whoever is in charge puts all people kind of up to the side and then runs everything. And that's really, I think, if you can speak truth to power, maybe we can get through this moment without losing too many of our essential fundamental rights.
My friend, it's harrowing. It's
Yeah.
harrowing, the moment
Yeah.
that we're living through. Um, and again, it isn't new either,
No.
right? It isn't new, but it doesn't take away um, from the real fears that I think we all should have. And one of the things that I really think about often is around a righteous anger, right?
Hmm.
And looking at these injustices, these power grabs, um, letting that light the flames within us to be
Yeah.
able to move towards action, right?
No.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that we also, another part of our organization, besides just the direct legal representation, we also do advocacy work as well
Okay.
at the state level, but also we're a part of national coalitions as well, for more just immigration policies. And and so that is one of the places that I really, really love focusing that
Yeah.
righteous anger, to be able to, dismantle some of those harmful systems of that consolidation of power,
Yeah.
right? That
Well,
if
that
for
that
those who believe in democracy, right, this is the
right.
moment to stand up and
That's
stand
right.
united.
It's a little messy, but we will take a quick break and be back in a moment with more conversations different.
We make renewable doable. We're positive energy solar for a cleaner, brighter future for all. Positive energy's the right call. Feel good about your energy bill. Help save the planet too. Your trusted solar company, working hard for you. Generate positive energy. Positive energy solar.
We are back with Conversations Different, talking to Miles of Contigo Immigrant Justice. And let's get back to the ways that you're advocating. I think that's a really good place to start, because one of the things that people who are concerned about the current climate when it comes to immigrants is they want to know how to help and what they can do. And I think when we take action, we feel empowered. So, what is your organization doing, and how can individuals join in on that work?
I think first and foremost, we have to acknowledge how lucky we are to be able to get involved and get involved in a state where our voices do matter and are taken into consideration, and our values do as well. And so, at kind of all levels of governance, is there a possibility of getting involved from being able to advocate at a local level at city council meetings, or county commission meetings, to be able to speak up around, hey, I want to make sure that that um, our local government isn't collaborating with ICE, isn't sharing sensitive data with ICE. I want to make sure that we are, putting our mouth where our heart is, or something like that, and make sure that we're funding legal advocacy, right? And that can be done at a local level as well. Um, yeah, or at the state level, we have the legislative session coming up in January, and so starting to talk early on with your representatives, your senators, about making sure that they are keen to passing immigrant forward legislation. We're going to be carrying a couple bills that are specific to survivors of violent crime. So, kind of this combination of immigration and public safety overlap, right? That there's a specific visa called a U visa for
Mhm.
survivors of violent crimes, to be able to say, I came to law enforcement because I'm a survivor of this violent crime. And in that process, I have this ability to get better protections through a U visa. And so we're trying to make sure that there's a standard operating procedure across the state to make sure those U visas are certified by the law enforcement, so that we can get those survivors the protections that they need and deserve.
Right, and that gives
Yeah,
them a reason to come out too if they know they're gonna be protected.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I
there's lots of different things like that that we're going to be focusing in on,
good, good.
and getting involved is and following our social media, or signing up for our newsletter on our website, is definitely a great place to start, or any other local organizations that are fighting for immigrant justice.
One of the big issues of the next session, I think, although maybe it won't be on the call because it's a short budget session, but you never know, is whether the state is going to try to either eject ICE detention centers and local contracts with counties, or at least if they don't do that, regulate them so that the people are treated fairly inside. And I don't know if that's something you guys weigh in on or not.
That's a really big deal. Um, one of the other values that we hold as an organization at Contigo is abolition. And so we really believe in people's humanity and
Hmm.
dignity, and not cages, to
Right.
put it frankly. And we already know how inhumane those detention centers are. And so I think that, yeah, we are definitely involved, and we're part of the coalition. And I think it is, we are ripe for the passage. And we've heard more and more,
Hmm.
from legislators and from the executive staff. We saw that
Hmm.
it was possibly going to be put on the on this past special session,
I remember that. I
right?
remember that.
Yeah, and so that, I think it has been elevated to a place in which, um in which we as a community have, yeah, had our values heard, and
That
it
makes
looks like
sense.
we're going to make it met.
This is a philosophical question. I don't know the answer, but I think about this a lot in terms of, because what my day job is, I write the editorials. So if people are going to be held in detention centers, no matter what we in New Mexico do, are we better off kicking them out of our state because they don't ally with our values? Or are we better off trying to operate decent, clean ones for people who are going to get locked up anyway?
I think that is, indeed, an age old philosophical question, right? The reform versus tearing it down.
Right, right. And if we could tear
Yeah,
it down nationally, that would be a different thing, but we don't have that power.
that
Yeah.
would be a different thing. I think that there are a lot of different ways to look at this question, though, because I think
Mhm.
one of the other kind of flip questions is around what kind of dignified labor do we want to have here in the
Yeah.
state? And as we see, right, oftentimes, um, detention centers really pop up in more rural, more areas where there are less economic opportunities.
Yep.
And so, are we saying that these are the kinds of jobs that we want here in New Mexico? I don't think
Mhm.
so. Um, and
But
a lot of
again,
folks
if it
around the detention
yep,
centers have also said, no, we don't want to work here either.
yep,
This is
yep,
not the kind of life that we want to live either. So that's one. That is one part. and
right.
and I think that we, as also a sector that are focused on immigrant justice, have a lot of really are building,
Mhm.
the networks to make sure that we are addressing the issue early on. So one of the things I do talk about is around, making sure that we're talking to as many people, and getting in front of as many people, before, yeah, as early as possible, before, folks get detained.
Right.
And that some folks do have possible pathways um, towards better protections, like I mentioned, being a survivor of domestic violence, or certain crimes. Um, yeah, being a survivor of being trafficked. There's lots of different ways. There are not too many, but there are ways that people can move from undocumented towards work authorization. And so, we are working as diligently, as fast, as effectively as possible, to make sure that we're getting in front of as many people as possible, before that process of
Right.
getting in line for detention.
So it's like crime prevention, except in this case, it would be detention prevention. You don't ever
Which
get
has to
to
go
that
hand in
point.
hand.
Right, that makes sense.
Exactly, which has to
Yeah,
go hand in hand.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the frustrating things I think that it is for citizens, and I think for activists and people in your movement, is that every chance we had to reform our immigration system over the last, 2 or 3 decades, we didn't. So when people say, "Well, I want them to come the right way," I don't think there's an understanding that the right way doesn't really exist at this point in time.
You are absolutely right that there have been missteps all along the way. And it is such tricky work
Yeah.
working on federal level policies, right? I mean, I think we've all seen those kind of graphs around whether or not,
Yeah.
that if there's zero like public support versus 99% public support, it's still, no matter what, bill has 30% chance of passing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it really is tricky business. And one of the things that my coworkers really talk about is the immigration legal system is inherently exclusionary,
Yeah.
inherently cruel. And what we're trying to do as advocates is support people in being able to fit into these very small boxes around what constitutes someone who's eligible for DACA, who's eligible to become a legal permanent resident, etc. And those boxes continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
No,
And
I mean, there's
yeah,
all those people who are in the country legally because they got asylum, and now that's been revoked. So they're illegal all of a sudden, according to the government. So, what do you do?
which again just speaks to the cruelty of this moment, right? I mean, if we're talking about people who are fleeing violence,
Yeah.
right? And I know that, and I think that, I guess I challenge, right, folks and listeners to think back on their own familial histories and whether or not that process of seeking a better life or fleeing violence exists. I know it also on my biological personal level as well, and thinking about the Great Migration, and having my folks leave rural Alabama to New York, right?
Yeah.
To be able to escape violence,
Yeah.
right? And that is inside the state too, right? So I think that these stories are part of, sadly, what makes us human, and really, a just immigration system is one that focuses on the human. But we're a long ways away from that, and we're
Yeah.
here to help make sure that as many people, get closer, and have the stability to be able to fight for what they deserve and need to get to that place of a humane and just immigration system.
And on that note, we'll take a quick break and be back in a moment with more Conversations Different.
This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. Looking to reach a wider audience and grow your business? For 175 years, the Santa Fe New Mexican has been the trusted voice of Santa Fe, with unmatched local reach in print and online. In addition to our long-standing, independent, family-owned newspaper, we have a full-fledged marketing team with the expertise to help you succeed in the 21st century. From traditional print to precision-targeted digital advertising, we have the tools to connect you with your ideal customers. Partner with us and see the results for yourself. Advertise with the Santa Fe New Mexican and unlock your business's full potential. Visit us at santafenewmexican.com/advertising or call us at 505-995-3852. Thank you.
We're back with Conversations Different and Miles from Contigo Immigrant Justice. I really like the way you talk about project. It's not a project, it's just the way we need to be. And I think in so much of what we do to try to fix things, we look at it as like this is something to be fixed, but really it's kind of almost a way of being. It's like if you treat people well, then we don't have all of these problems, and their humanity is preserved, and they can do their work and take care of their kids and not be afraid. I imagine the people you're working with now are very scared right now and very upset.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that yeah, that's a wonderful framing, and the word that comes to mind for me is praxis, right? Is the making the alignment between the theory of doing why we do what we do, right, and the actual living of it, and having that walk in unison. And yeah, I pause because sometimes it's taboo, but I'm spiritual. I'm Jewish. I go to temple, and one of the things that has continued to come up for me is um, around living a life that centers love and yeah, and from a Jewish perspective, the Tokunow, right, to repair the world is a large part of what draws me to my faith, and in holding that space of putting love at the forefront,
Mm-hmm.
it allows for us to continue to show up.
Yeah.
Because these are hard times for all nonprofits that are fighting up against what really feels like a destructive machine.
Yeah. And they've said they're going to go after nonprofits. In addition to the individuals, they don't like the people who help them either. So there's a lot of potential friction coming that we don't know yet.
And yeah, and it's hard not to just want to throw in the towel, right? When you see the incredible wave of that we are up against, but yeah, that greater long picture, that greater arc towards justice
Right.
is what we're all about, and being able to move from the heart center to get us there is everything.
No, that is so true, and honestly, the whole point of religion, when you get to the heart of it, is God is love, and that is how we're supposed to treat our fellow human beings. And if you're not religious, just as a humanist, you think, let's be respectful and go back to the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. And I wonder still if what's going on in the country in terms of raids on apartment complexes in Chicago, supposed National Guard going to stop supposed ICE protests in Portland. Are you guys doing any work in preparation of if that comes here?
We absolutely are, and kind of goes back to the root of the name Contigo, with you.
Yeah.
And we are stronger in our partnerships, and so that is one of the things that we've really highlighted. And since November of last year, really a couple of weeks after we all kind of got out of our worries, our can't believe it's our, let's wait and maybe there's going to be a recount.
Let's get to work. Yeah,
let's get to work. And and we've built quite a few different networks throughout the state, and we're a part of different networks that are oriented towards, first and foremost, data sharing and data verification, because that's one of the things that we saw early on that happened was, oh my gosh, every unmarked car is ICE, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and the point of that really was fear, and it
Yeah.
really became pervasive. And we have, I'm sad to say, but there are countless stories of folks who have minimized their lives, because of these fears.
Yeah.
Stopped going to the doctor, stopped going to cancer treatment, stopped going to drop off their kids at school, at daycare, because of these very real fears,
Yep.
and also got heightened because of the fervor, and so yeah, we have really built lots of great kind of networks of communication and being able to move into action when need be. And there's lots of great trainings. We have some friends over at Organizing Power in Numbers, who's in Albuquerque, but also does national work. And they've done a lot of great work around neighborhood watch, kind of work and trainings, and canvassing businesses so that businesses know their rights and know what places are deemed public
Right.
which are the spaces in which ICE can show up, but the private and the employee only sections are places that they need a warrant, right? A signed warrant by a judge to be able to go into. And so making sure that businesses know their full rights too, to be able to protect their employees, and customers too, right?
Right.
That ability to move into safe spaces at those times.
No, that's so smart, because there's a lot of, I know after the election, one of the things we did is talk to people in different groups that might be more affected about what are they doing to organize and to, just to go about their lives so they feel safe. And I thought the parts about knowing, you don't have to open the door, you have to have a warrant, all of those things were so important for people to understand and to be ready if that happens. And if you're on the street and you're just a bystander, get your phone out and record what's happening. So there's a lot we
Totally,
can
totally.
do in the moment.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've been, grateful for is this partnership with Somos Un Pueblo Unido, where
Yeah.
we've really come together and have piloted a few different workshops where we are pairing Know Your Rights workshops. So people are dead set and knowing exactly what to do, what not to do when interacting with federal law enforcement, and pairing that with consultations so that folks know what kinds of precautions they need to take, right? And if there are no pathways and for a more secure status, then they know that, right? And they know
Right.
that they can plan and they can do the family preparedness work. And if there are, let's get to work, right? And make
Right.
sure that you have the work authorization, you have all the deferred action processes that you can utilize to stop that from happening again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The prevention care.
And kind of looping back to the way we started when we talked about the dreamers, I think most of our listeners know that those are the people who came as children who didn't ask to come here, but their parents brought them, and here they are. This is their country. This is where they grew up. Many of them might not even speak the language of their home country because they grew up in the United States, and we tend to suck people in and make them Americans. So we're good at that. And they're still in limbo. And I wonder how that feels after you've done your whole life, giving back to a country that's not making you welcome now.
Yeah, so just to define it, right? It's deferred action for childhood arrivals, right?
Yep.
And
Right.
you named it. And I think that for a lot of folks, um, that when they think of DACA, they still think of people who are children.
Yep.
But who we're talking about is we're talking about people with mortgages. We're talking
Yes.
about people who are, executive directors. We're talking about people who are, are business owners, are in grad school, are doctors,
Parents.
lawyers, are
Yep.
parents.
Yep.
Exactly. And so that is the kind of shift. And as folks who have been doing this for quite a while, we're lucky to be able to have our own kind of data. And we have seen, though, that our DACA renewals have lessened because a lot of those folks that we have been working on their renewals every year, that a lot of those folks have also gotten married and been able to adjust their statuses as legal permanent residents. And so we've been able to really work with folks in lots of different ways, to move from that limbo
Nice.
into more stable and secure statuses. But it is another one of the missteps, right, from a moment that had such potential. And I think there still is exciting news. We don't know, fully. There was a judicial decision about suggesting that initial DACA applications should open up again, but we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be some appeals, but right now we're waiting and seeing. But that ability also to have that status really gives you the next jumping off point to be able to move to the next level as well.
That's right, because you can go to college, you can do lots of things that improve your status and help your family, and also build, the community up, because the better educated people are, the better jobs they can have, the better off we are as a town and a state and a country, really.
And you've seen those, that news about like an H-1B visa being some
$100,000.
$100,000, right?
Yeah.
That is absolutely wild, but that is also a visa, right? That and pathway too, that for folks who have certain levels of education or certain specific skills, right, that you then can be able to apply for these kinds of visas, right? So you're right, they all work together.
Oh, well, like they say, we live in fascinating times, and I appreciate your time today, and good luck in your work. You're doing important stuff. We need it.
Oh, the pleasure has been mine, and and we are really looking forward to continuing to lean on community to be able to show up and support our immigrant community. And please, find us at contigojustice.org and learn more about us.
Good. And on that note, this has been another Conversations Different. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening to Conversations Different, hosted by me, Inez Russell Gomez, editorial page editor for the Santa Fe New Mexican. Our weekly episodes would not be possible without your support. We hope you enjoy them and keep listening. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Consider signing up for our newsletter so you never miss an episode, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the Santa Fe New Mexican. Our podcast is available by visiting our website, santafenewmexican.com/podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Conversations Different with Inez Russell Gomez is produced by Matt Dalside and Ernesto Cisneros, published by the Santa Fe New Mexican, a local and independent newspaper owned by Robin Martin.